Do, sir, the show is yours.
Turn this. Okay, everybody hear me? All right, so I'm going to be doing kind of a slideshow over here. So if all the kids kind of want to come on up so you guys can see better, we can have all the kids kind of sit here. Whoever wants to, or you can stay at your seats if you want to, but it might be easier if you guys were kind of standing over in this area, or sitting. So yeah, everybody just kind of sit down. I'm going to stand over here. So can everybody see? Okay. Everybody see now? Okay, cool. That doesn't feedback. All right, so how's everybody doing today? Okay, cool. So yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about books today. We're going to be talking about illustration and writing. So the illustrator is the person that does pictures for books, right? Can you think of places where you've seen illustrations other than books? You think of places where you might see drawings that are on things? Yes? Movies, right. If you think about the cartoon characters, in animation, somebody had to draw all of those characters. Pretty much everybody down here, look down at your shirts. Looks like almost everybody has an illustration on your shirt. If you think about when you're eating your cereal in the morning, think about the characters on your breakfast cereal on the box. Think about the toys that you play with. Think about if you're playing video games. Somebody had to draw all of those characters in the video games. Maybe they're drawing them with a computer, or maybe they're drawing them by hand, but all of those are illustrations. And that's what's so great, and what I really like about illustration, is there's so many ways that things need to be drawn. Things are out there that people need drawings of. And so one of my favorite things to draw is to do illustrations for books. I've done a whole bunch of books. And almost every book that I've worked on, I didn't write, okay? So there's an author out there, there are authors that write stories, and I've done about 40 picture books, so there's like 40 authors out there that have sent me stories, and they're all different kinds of stories, and that's what I really like, is that each one is a really different kind of story. Like maybe, one day I'll be working on a book about, animals playing instruments, or about sports, or about dragons, or monsters, or tigers, or dinosaurs, or Vikings, or talking vegetables. Every single time it's a different thing, and that's what I really like, all these different stories people are sending me, and I get to read the story and kind of think about what the story's about and imagine what these characters are going to look like, and then I get to figure out how to draw them. So something I want you guys to think about, I'm going to show you, one of the books that I've worked on, something I want you guys to think about is how many different ways that you can illustrate the same thing. And it's one of the great things about illustration. Think about the way a picture book might start off, okay? The first page in a book, a lot of times it's like once upon a time, right? Once upon a time there was a boy, okay? That's a really simple way to start off a picture book. But that's a lot of times the way that a story might start. And so if you guys were supposed to draw that sentence, once upon a time there was a boy, how would you draw that? Well, you might just draw a boy, right? Just standing there, and that's okay. It's kind of boring, right? He's just standing there. So maybe we could do something real simple, like we could zoom in on his face, okay? That makes it a little more interesting. Right now, he's looking up at the words, and it's a little more dramatic. Or maybe we could do the opposite. Maybe we could zoom out, so he's really tiny in like a whole crowd of people. So it's the same words, right? It's still, once upon a time there was a boy, but I've drawn it 3 different ways. If we made the sentence a little bit longer, and it was something like, once upon a time there was a boy who wanted to see the world. Do you see what I did with the words there? Can anybody tell me? What did I do? Yes? Right, yeah, I moved the words, and do you see where the words that say, once upon a time there was a boy, it's written on the boy, right? And back here it says, who wanted to see the world? And that's by the window. How come it's by the window, do you think? What's outside the window? Yeah. Yeah, outside the world, yeah. So I use the words as part of the picture. Now, also something that illustrations can do is it can tell you things that aren't in the words, okay? So we know that there's a boy and he wants to see the world, right? But we don't know why. We don't know how he feels about that. So the pictures can add emotions that the words don't have. So here, maybe it looks like he's kind of stuck in the house. He's looking out the window. He really wants to go out and see the world. Here he looks kind of sad, right? Like he's peeking over the window like, I'm stuck in this house, I really want to go see the world. Or maybe he's not sad, maybe he's excited, like he's going on an adventure. He's kind of marching down the road, and we can see like all the big background of the world that he's going to go see. It's still the same words. It still just says, once upon a time there was a boy who wanted to see the world. But I'm showing you all different kinds of ways. Here, it's sort of like a comic book style, right? Where you see him going out the door, and then he's getting on a train, and a camel, and a boat, and a plane. So these are just like 8 examples. But there are hundreds and hundreds of ways that you could illustrate the same sentence. And that's what's great. I bet if I gave each and every one of you the same story and said, draw a picture for this story, I bet you would each come up with something different. And that's what's so great about it, is because all the different ways that you can read a story and think about the way that story might look. Now, another thing that I've started to do kind of recently, because I've been illustrating for about 15 years, but I always wanted to be a writer too. And I was, trying to practice, writing, and something that really helped me out was I started illustrating this magazine. Has anybody seen this magazine? It's called Ask Magazine. It's a kids' science and nature magazine. It's for kids about your age, and it's great because every single month it's about something different. Like this one's about stars, this one was about Vikings and electricity and dreams and cavemen and robots. So every month it's like a different kind of topic of science and nature. And I started about 4 years ago doing this comic strip called Nestor's Dock. And it's about these 4 kids. That guy's Nestor. And he has different adventures about whatever's going on in the comic book and going on in the magazine. And so it taught me a lot about writing. And because I had practiced writing this comic strip, I got to do this. This is my very first book that I wrote and illustrated. So I'm the author for this book and I'm the illustrator. And I'm going to read it to you. I'm really excited because this just came out this year. It's the first time that I've ever gotten to write anything, and it was really exciting for me. So I'm going to read you the story, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how I came up with the ideas for the story and put it together. So the story is called Click. And it's all about this little boy right here, and he's got this lamp on the side of his bed that's shaped like a bird, okay? Now I'm telling you that I wrote this story, but you're going to notice pretty quick that there aren't a whole lot of words. Have you guys seen like wordless picture books before? Anybody? Anybody seen them? Picture books that don't have a whole lot of words. The great thing about that is that when you have a book that's only pictures, you get to kind of make up what's going on in the story for yourself. You get to really pay attention to the pictures and kind of imagine what the story is. So it's going to start off, this story has some words, but they're all sound effects. And they kind of make a rhythm to the story, and also the story is all about a noisy house. So it starts off, the boy is going to click off the light, he's going to yawn, and he is ready to go to sleep. But, he's trying to fall asleep, but the house is noisy. You guys ever have that happen? Noisy house, hard to fall asleep? It happens in my house all the time. So there's a drip, drop, coming from the boy's bedroom door. And you can see over here, he's tossing and turning and tossing and turning. He can't fall asleep. So, what's going to happen? His little lamp that's shaped like a bird, little bird lamp, is going to come to life, and he's going to click on his light, and he's going to tiptoe across the floor. So it says, tip, tap, click, click, tip, tap, click, click. He's walking across the floor. And so he finds out where the sound is coming from. Where's it coming from? Yeah, from the bathtub, right? It's got a drippy faucet. Now, I want you guys to pay attention through the whole story, because what I was trying to do is I wanted to make the whole house look like it was alive. I wanted every object, like the doorknob and the toilet and the sink back here, everything's got like a hidden face to it. And I think it's fun because as you look through the story, you can find more and more hidden faces. So we see the bathtub, he's got some eyes and like a nose and a mouth there, right? It looks like he's got kind of a drippy nose. So the bird lamp, he's going to jump up on the handle, he's going to turn, he's going to crank and crank the faucet, and then the bathtub is like, he's happy now. But there's still more noise. So the bird lamp, he's got to go figure out what's going on. He hears achoo, sniff, sniff, achoo, sniff, sniff, coming from the next room. So everybody's happy in the bathroom, but the bird lamp, he's got to figure out where the other noise is coming from. So he's going to tip, tap, click, click, tip, tap, click, click down the stairs, and he's shining his light. And you might even notice that every single pole going down the stairs has a hidden face hidden in the wood grain. So there's hidden faces everywhere in the book. So he goes downstairs, and what's making all that noise? Anybody? What do you see making the noise? Yes. The broom, right. He's got a bunch of dust in front of his face, and he's sneezing. So it says, achoo, sniff, sniff. The broom has got a bunch of dust, and he's sneezing it out. So the bird lamp, he's going to pick up a little dust broom, and he's going to sweep all the dust away, and he's going to give the lamp, or he's going to give the broom a tissue. And so the broom is like, ah, he's happy now too. But there is still more noise in this house. This is a really noisy house. So there's a rock, rock, creak, creak coming from the chair, and there's a flap, flap, rustle, rustle coming from this window over here. So bird lamp is going to go back to work. He's going to tip, tap, click, click, tip, tap, click, click across the floor. And I like some of these guys that I have hidden back here. Like this guy's got like 5 eyes, little mouth and nose there. This guy over here, he's got like 2 eyes and a big mustache. So I was trying to hide like lots of interesting faces in there. So he's going to pull the rug underneath the chair, swish, swish, glide, glide. He's pulling it under the chair so the chair is quiet now. He's not making that rocking noise. And then he's going to slide, slide the window shut. And then what happens? Can anybody read that? What's that say? Hush. Right. So finally, the house is quiet. So everybody's good. And so the bird lamp's job is done. And he's going to click off his light. And he's going to tip, tap, click, click past the broom. He's going to tip, tap, click, click past the bathtub that's all fast asleep now. And he goes in the boy's room, but what happened to the boy? Can you see what he did over here? What did he drop? His stuffed animal, right? Yeah, so the boy, this poor kid, you know, the house is quiet now, but he still can't fall asleep. He's still tossing and turning because he dropped the stuffed animal. So the bird lamp is going to push and push the stuffed animal back, and then everybody's happy, okay? So the boy can fall asleep, and the bird lamp can take it easy, and the little alarm clock there, everybody's good, everything's happy, and then the alarm goes off, and he has to wake up. And so he's going to click, and he's going to yawn, and what do we see on the floor? Footprints, right? Yeah. The bird, when he was running across the room, he left some footprints. And so now we got the noises of the day, because the kid woke up and the daytime's really noisy, right? So we got all kinds of things going on during the day. We got a clank clank from the dishes, and a whistle whistle from the coffee maker, and a sizzle sizzle from the oven, and a beep beep because the bacon just burned, and a slurp slurp, and a whirl whirl, vroom vroom, tumble tumble, toot toot, shuffle shuffle, flush flush, brush brush. And the day is over, and the boy is going to go back to sleep. And that is the end of the story. Yep, he's back to sleep. So that's the story. And when I was coming up with the story, I knew that I wanted to do a story that was like a bedtime story. I've got kids, they're 6 years old now, and when they were real little, they're twins, and they had a hard time falling asleep when the house was really noisy. And so I kind of came up with a story based on that, and I knew that I wanted the main character to be a bird shaped like a lamp shaped like a bird. But the thing about that is like when you're coming up with a story, you want to come up with really interesting characters, right? So I came up with lots and lots and lots of ideas about what the characters could look like before I decided on the one I wanted. So I did like 20 or 30 different drawings of lamps that were shaped like birds. Like maybe here, he's got like the light bulb is part of his head, or maybe the light bulb is inside his body, or maybe the light bulb's on top of his head. I drew some that had lampshades, some that didn't, and each one of those, if I would have picked like that guy to be the main character, the whole book would have looked really different, right? So all of those things, picking out the best way to draw a character. So I like to do lots and lots of drawings before I figure out the way I want to do things for real. Now, the next thing that I always like to think about is where do the characters live? And that's really important. I might be working on a book, and if I made it set in wintertime, the whole book would look way different than if I set it in fall or if it was set in summertime. Just little things like that. I knew this book, I wanted it all set inside the house, okay? So I wanted to find a really cool house. And I looked at lots and lots of pictures of different houses and different kinds of furniture to find, one that looked just the way that I wanted. Another thing that I always do, and the thing that sort of got me into doing picture books in the first place, is that I really like to look at other artists. That's really the reason that I started doing picture books in the first place. Is I used to go to the bookstore and to the library and see all these great picture books, all these really amazing illustrators doing really cool books, and it really inspired me to want to do that myself. So when I was working on this book, I knew that I wanted this book to be like a nighttime book, right? And so nighttime books, you know, they can look kind of dark, you know what I mean? Some of the scenes, you know, might be kind of hard to see because it's nighttime and it's really dark. And so I looked at a lot of artists that do nighttime scenes, and I found this guy I liked a lot because he makes all these nighttime scenes where he uses color to do nighttime. So, you know, instead of just doing like a really dark room, he makes it really purple or really brown or really sort of bluish green with all these nice glowing lights. So I always like to look at other artists to see the way that they do things before I get started. Now, the other thing that I knew I wanted to do with this book is I wanted to have lots of hidden faces. So I went around the house with my kids, and we went, you know, in the kitchen and the bathroom and all over the house trying to find hidden faces and all the little things throughout the house. And I also found all these great pictures online. I spent a lot of time going online to look at pictures of different things, and I found lots of great pictures of people who had found hidden faces all over the place. But I wanted to find just the right thing, okay? So I knew there was like one page in the book where there was like a coffee maker, and you know, I wanted that coffee maker to have a face. And I could have used any coffee maker, right? I could have gone down to my kitchen and used the coffee maker in my kitchen, but I wanted to look at all different kinds of ways. And if you guys are thinking about drawing something, you know, sometimes look at different ways to draw things. Like, I found 30 or 40 different kinds of coffee makers, you know, and each one of them has a different kind of hidden face, doesn't it? Like this guy right here might have like two little eyes and like a really big open mouth. Or this one right here kind of looks like a side view of a face, right? Like a big eye and a nose and maybe a big jaw sticking out. This one right here could have like a little eye and one little eye and one big eye. So all different kinds of ways to find hidden faces and things. And then, after I've got my characters figured out, and I've got my setting figured out, okay, then I start sketching. Have you guys done anything in like English class or an art class where you do some brainstorming? Do you know what that means? Brainstorming is like coming up with ideas as fast as you can off the top of your head. So when you're talking about doing sketching for brainstorming, I like to do lots of little sketches as fast as I can. So I'll maybe do 5 or 10 sketches for a page before I pick the right one. And they're little sketches like, you know, maybe I'll draw like a character is really small in the corner. Or maybe I'll draw really big in the middle of the picture. Or maybe I'll put a lot of action in there where there's a bunch of characters going on at once. And so those sketches, like that, they're like about this size. So I'll do lots and lots of little sketches before I figure everything out. And then I lay them all out in what's called a storyboard, because I like to think when I'm making a book kind of like I'm making a movie. So I like to plan out every scene in the book and kind of make each scene different than the last one, kind of have it going from one scene to the next. So I do lots of little pictures like that. And then once I'm kind of happy with the way that it looks, I'll do kind of a final drawing that's the regular size. And this is from a different book, but this is about the size that the drawings are. And you can see, so we've got little tiny drawings, and then I'll make it a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer drawing. And then, after I'm happy with that, I'll put the sketch onto a piece of watercolor paper, kind of like that. And I usually sort of start off by just painting it brown. But you can kind of see the sketch there. And then I just start adding color to it. So this is kind of different stages in that painting. And then the way that it ends up is sort of like this. So these are some of the actual paintings. And if you guys want to come up and take a look at them later, you can see them up close. But these are some of the real paintings from the book. And you can see that's how they look. And here's the actual book. Yeah, so here's that page. And here's the way the real painting looks. So this is my real painting. And then they take a picture of it on a scanner, kind of like if any of you have a scanner on your home computer, they'll put my paintings on a scanner, and then they'll print them out, sort of like your home printer, where it's just a whole lot bigger. They print out the pictures, and that's how it ends up looking when it turns into a book. Now, one other thing that I always like to show in the slideshow at the end, this was the very first book I ever did. And I actually did this in 6th grade. My mom was the art teacher at the grade school I went to. I went to St. Columban when I was in 6th grade. And she was the art teacher over there. And she gave us an assignment where we had to write a story and draw some pictures for it, sort of make up our own picture book. And then we went to the kindergarten class and we read it to them. And this was the very first time that I'd ever started drawing things that had characters in them. My mom, you know, she was my teacher. She taught me how to draw since I was really little. And my older brother is also an artist, and I was always trying to draw just as well as he could. So I was always, you know, trying to learn and get better at it. But we were always drawing things from real life. That's the way that my mom taught me how to draw. You know, if you want to learn how to draw people, you go look at people and you draw them in real life. And that's really the best way to start learning how to do something. I've got a book over there called Tiger in My Soup that's all about tigers. And when I did that book, I went to the zoo and I sketched tigers, you know, walking around the cages. And that's, you know, that's really the best way to learn how to draw stuff. But this little project here I did in 6th grade was the very first time where I started to make up my own characters and started to do something sort of like that, where I was trying to tell a story with pictures. And kind of ever since then, I've been doing that. I started really paying attention to the comic books I was reading and the cartoons I was watching, and started to make my own comic books. And ever since then, that's kind of been what I've been doing. So that's it for the slideshow, but I got some other stuff that I want to show you guys, and we're going to be doing some drawing in a few minutes, which is going to be fun. But one thing I always like to bring when I do these is, well, we don't need to do that yet. So anyway, one thing that I really like to do, or that I really like about doing creative work and, you know, being an illustrator and, you know, doing artwork, is there are so many different kinds of projects that I get to do, and that's what's really great. I've gotten to do some like big murals in places. I even designed some giant life-size animal puppets for the Central Park Zoo. And every time I get to do a new project, it's something really different. A couple years ago, somebody asked me if I could design some pop-up books. And I was really excited to do that, but I also had no idea how to make pop-up books or how to get them to work. Does anybody have any ideas? If somebody asked you to make a pop-up book, how do you think you might try and figure it out? Yeah, I know, it's kind of tough, isn't it? Well, there's a couple ways. Yeah, did you have an idea?
You can like make movements in the
Oh. Yeah, so the way that it moves is really important, and the way that it opens is really important. And a lot of that is just sort of folding paper and seeing what works and what doesn't work. I also went online and found lots of ideas about how to make simple shapes. I also bought a bunch of pop-up books and kind of tore them apart to see how they worked. But one thing that I kind of learned is that you can start off with really simple stuff like this, which is like the most boring pop-up in the entire world, right? This is 2 pieces of paper taped together, and it makes what? What shape is this? You got like a cone or maybe a triangle. Can also do something, this is a little bit more complicated, but also pretty easy. What do we got here? We got a cube, right? We got a cone and we got a cube. You can also make a sphere and a cylinder fairly easily. So what do we got? We got basic geometric shapes. And I'm going to show you in a little bit that you can do the same sort of thing with drawing, but you know, you can start off by doing, you know, sculpture, like, you know, pop-up books or drawing, starting off with basic shapes like circles and squares and triangles. And if you add some stuff to it, this is one of the very first sample pieces I did. This is it's like a king cobra kind of thing. If you start adding, you know, detail to it, something that starts off really simple, like this triangle here, can turn into something a little bit more interesting. Do you guys see on his neck right there, the thing that's making the pop-up work here? It's that triangle, right? It's like this shape, but I put a head on top of it. And all of a sudden, something that's just a triangle becomes a little more interesting. You can take the same shape, and this was a book of fairy tales I did. And this is it's like a Jack and the Beanstalk kind of thing. So here you can see there's like the castle, and there's the beanstalk, and you can see there's Jack's mom. She's holding the book, and the giant is sort of falling through the clouds. But if you take a look at that shape right there that's making the whole thing pop up, it's that same triangle shape, it's that same cone shape, but I just added a lot of cutout pieces to it, and all of a sudden something that was kind of simple starts to actually look like something. And then here's another example of that same pop-up. This is like the Rip Van Winkle waking up after he's been asleep for 100 years. If you remember that cube that I showed you, that square, if you put a roof on it, all of a sudden you got a house, right? So here's Hansel and Gretel with her, the cabin. So it's taking really simple shapes like circles and squares and triangles, and you can start to build characters out of them. And it works the same way whether we're talking about pop-up books or whether we're talking about drawings. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a little bit of drawing. And you guys can kind of stay here for now, but as soon as we start drawing, we got paper and pencils and everything ready for everybody. And something that I like to do when I come to schools, I've been doing for a long time where I show kids how to draw one of the characters from my books using really simple shapes, like we figure out how the character looks with circles and squares, and we kind of build a character that way. But what I've started to do recently is we're going to actually make our own character today. So I got lots of shapes here, and we're going to build a character. And we're going to be building a robot today. So what we're going to do with these shapes here. Now the thing about making up characters, right, if you're talking about cartoon characters, is the ways that you exaggerate them are the ways that make them really interesting, right? Do you know what exaggeration means? You guys, exaggeration means like all the things that are kind of not right. Like if you draw like a cartoon character that's got a really big nose, that's an exaggerated nose. If you got a character that's got a really tiny head and a big body, or that's stretched out really long, or their eyes are too close together or too far apart, or they got like a really big head, all of those things are exaggerations where you're trying to make it like funny and interesting by doing something that's kind of stretched out and not right. And so that's how you make really funny cartoon characters. So what we're going to be doing with our robot is we're going to either do a big head and a little body, or a little body and a big head. So what do you guys think we want to do? Do we want to do little head or big head?
Big head.
Big head? Is everybody? You guys can shout it out. It's cool. All right. So we got. Let's see here. We've got either a triangle or a blue kind of oval, or sort of a gumdrop shape. So do we want triangle, oval, or gumdrop? Yell it out. Who wants? I'm hearing a lot. I think I'm hearing a lot of oval. So let's go with oval. Do we want to go this way or this way?
That way.
This way? Okay, cool. All right. So we got a big head, so we got to do a tiny body. And we got lots of shapes for that. So we can do like a square, or like this sort of oval, or like a triangle. Anybody have any preferences? Oval? Wow, we got 2 blue ovals. That's okay. Do we want to do it like this or like this?
That way.
That way? Okay. That's interesting. He is kind of a stick person. All right. Okay, we got wheels or we got feet? Wheels. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Okay, let's do that. We can do like a little thing with some wheels. Okay, cool. All right. So, and then we got. We're gonna. Oh, how about? Let's see here. Well, we're gonna do the face first, and then you guys are gonna sort of add some arms, and we got lots of other stuff. But we're gonna talk about faces first, because when we're talking about making up cartoon characters, okay, like you can start off with a face just kind of like this, right? And if you guys are trying to draw your own characters, this is something I do every time I draw a new character, is I start off drawing like a circle and I kind of figure out a face. But just by moving things around, like just by doing that, by moving the eyes a little bit too far apart, or a little bit too close together, or, what if they're way up here like this? You can just move the features all around, and you get so many different characters just by doing something simple like that. So what do we want to do? Do we want to have faith like kind of like that, or maybe like that? Like, do we like that? Okay. All right, cool. So, okay, so he needs lots of stuff, right? He needs some arms. He needs all kinds of pieces. We got lots of pieces up here. So I'm going to want you guys sort of one at a time to come up and grab some pieces. Oh, he's kind of sliding. Okay, so one at a time, raise your hand who wants to come up and grab a piece and put it anywhere you like. You want to go first? So just grab whatever you like. We got all kinds of little pieces. And they can be buttons, or they can be hands, or wheels, or whatever you like. Cool. What's that going to be? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, who wants to go next? Okay, you want to go next? Cool. Okay. All right. Here, I'm going to make this a little lower because I think I got it kind of high. Okay, you want to go next? Anything you like, you can have. He's going to need some arms at some point, I think, or maybe a nose, maybe a hat, maybe some ears, whatever you like. Just grab one piece and stick it on wherever you want. Okay, cool. All right, you want to go next? Okay, where's that going to go? Is it like a hat? Okay, like that? Is that good? Okay. Okay, you want to go next? Oh, good, he's got a nose now. That's important. You want to go next?
Yes.
It's true. What's that going to be? Oh, like glasses? Like you want it up here? Is that good? Okay, cool. Who has to go? Do you want to go? Okay. He still doesn't have arms. He could be. You never know. It's up to you guys. Okay, what are those going to be? Oh, like that? It goes like that? Okay, cool. You want it on the other side too? Are those his arms? Cool, okay. Nice. All right, cool. Yeah, you want to go next? Who hasn't gone so far? Okay, cool. Oh, okay, nice. Cool, okay. Did you want to go next? So are you two the only ones that haven't had a turn so far?
I haven't.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. So you two want to just come up? Oh, eyebrows. Nice.
Need some.
Excellent. Okay. What else? Oh, now he's got two. Okay, now he's got glasses on both sides. All right, cool. Okay. So everybody had a chance to go? We good? All right, cool. Okay, so now I'm going to try this thingy over here. Because what we're going to be doing, and if you guys want to grab your paper too, we're going to try and draw this now. So we've made up a character, right? Like we've used different shapes to make up a character, and then we're going to try and do a drawing of it. Okay, let's see if we can do this. I've never used one of these before. Everybody got your paper? Cool, okay. Everybody see this? It's kind of cool. Okay, so the thing about drawing characters that can be kind of tricky is that it's got a lot of stuff going on, right? There's lots of detail going on. So how do we make that a little bit easier? Well, it's the same way that I do when I start any drawing, is I look at the big shapes. So we got a really big head, right? We got the head and we got the body, and we can start off drawing those shapes before we start working on all the little detail, kind of figure out all the big shapes and where that stuff is going to go. So let's see here. We can do sort of the big oval for the head. Oh. There we go. So we got an oval for the head, right? And we've got another oval for the body. And then he's got that big scarf. So those are like the three biggest shapes that you can see, right? And that's kind of where you start. You start off by figuring out big shapes. Big shapes. Whenever I'm drawing a person or an animal, I'll draw like a big circle for the body and a circle for the head, kind of figure out where stuff is going. And then that way you can add detail to it later, and it starts to sort of turn into something. So what else we got? Maybe let's do the face first and we can kind of go from there. He's got kind of a mouth like this. Right? And he's got a circle for a nose. And he's got kind of circles over here for the eyes. Is everybody drawing along so far? You guys keep cool. Okay, so what else we got? Let's see here. Let's do his glasses. And he's got his eyebrows. Like that. And he's got that big hat. Okay. How's everybody doing so far? Everybody keeping up okay? Cool. Okay, so let's do his arms and his wheels. So he's got kind of U-shaped arms. Kind of like that. And then he's got 3 wheels. Kind of like that. And sort of a big belly button. It's not a belly button. It might be just a regular button. And a triangle too. Okay, so we've got a basic character, right? How's everybody doing so far? You guys still working on them? All right, I'll give you a second. Okay, now the thing is that that's okay to start off that way, like starting off with simple shapes, adding some simple details to it, and now we've got sort of the basic character, right? But after you've got that sort of basic drawing, that's when you can start adding all that stuff to your drawing that turns like a really simple drawing with just lines into something that looks a little more like a real drawing. And there are so many ways that you can do that. I mean, some simple ways are just sort of adding some shading, with the side of your pencil. You can add some shadows to things. Another thing, if you want to take these home and color them, that would be awesome. So adding color to things, adding texture. We know this guy's a robot, right? So you can add like lots of little lines with bolts and stuff like that. And every little detail that you add to it are things that start to really bring the drawing to life and start to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. But there's one kind of really important thing that this drawing is missing right now. Can anybody see what really, something that every drawing needs that this doesn't have right now? Anybody have any ideas? Yes, what does it need? A name, sure, yeah. What else does it need? What do we not have back here? Right, background, exactly. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. So, this character needs a background. So, does anybody have any ideas? Where do you think you should be at? Yes?
Sun.
Awesome, sun. Cool, yes. What's that? A playground? Cool, yes. I'm sorry? Roller coaster, awesome, yes. A planet, cool, it could be in outer space, yeah. Yes. The circus, cool, those are really great ideas. Where should we do it? He kind of looks like a clown, so maybe he should be like a circus clown robot. So I'm going to try doing a circus clown robot. I want you guys to think of all different kinds of ideas though. He could be at the bottom of the ocean, he could be on the moon, he could be in the jungle, he could be at the zoo. Whatever you guys can think of it, and come up with some different ideas for the background for your character. And I'm gonna try doing the circus. So what does a circus need? Gotta have a circus tent.
That was my idea.
Let's see here. Gotta have a circus tent. What else? What else should we got? Yeah.
Clowns.
A clown, yeah, okay. So what do clowns do? Clowns like juggle and stuff? Or, well, here, we'll draw another, let's draw a robot clown in the background. Juggling something. What else? Any ideas? What else should the circus have? So did everybody do circus or did anybody do any other places? Yeah, where did you do? You did rainbows? Awesome. Cool. Well, there's a good start. There's a circus. I want to see what you guys are working on. Turn this off. Nice. That's awesome. Well, that's great. Did you have a question? Where's he at? He's underwater? Cool. Can you draw some fish and stuff? I wanted to thank everybody. You guys were great, and I hope that you know, like some of the stuff I was talking about, and maybe think about, you know, when you guys are reading stories, think about drawing pictures along with the stories. Imagine the way that the characters might look as you're reading a story, and try making up your own picture books. And I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. One other thing, if anybody, and I don't know, if anybody's in Columbus this weekend, they're having a big state book fair called the Ohio Anna Book Fair. They do it once a year in Columbus, and I did the poster for it this year. So, so that's kind of exciting. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. It was really exciting to come back to Goshen. I haven't been here in a little while, and it was great to see the neighborhood and come back to the school. And thank you so much.
Mr. Edward, I want to thank you for sharing some of your talents, and definitely a talent, and it's amazing to watch